Today we're going to be finally maxing Chevreuse. It's been a long time coming. I've actually had the ability to get her to C6 for a while now. I just haven't had a chance to get around to her yet. She is a pretty niche character, but I think very interesting as well. First, of course, we gotta finish farming her, which it seems like it's mostly just boss materials, so I'll keep it relatively short. Oh, oh no, are we still in world level 8? No, we're on world level 9, Jesus, this Xilonen and Arlecchino team goes insane. Got a 3 drop there, so I have done the first showcase with Chevreuse, but I never tried her with a pyro DPS, mostly just with Resin, so we're gonna be trying that as well. Since we only have bosses to do and nothing to really break it up, we'll check artifacts as well. Bad. That's so ridiculous though. Bad, 3, bad, 3, 3, horrible. Can we ascend her yet? Actually, yes, just need a chunk here. There we go. Going up to level 80. We'll just go ahead and auto add those books. And for the last star, just 17 more unicorns. So 14, bad, 11, atrocious, 8, irredeemable, 5, unsatisfactory, 2, promising, -1, deplorable. And there we go, we can get the final star. Go ahead and just auto add those books real quick. People who leave their characters at level 89 are insane. But yeah, there she is, and ooh, that was still quite a bit of farming. So I'm gonna take a break to play some Ash Echoes Global. If you haven't heard of it yet, Ash Echoes Global is a new real-time tactics RPG that just recently launched globally, and it's making quite an impression. It's got this really cool mix of grid-based strategy and real-time action, which feels like the best of both worlds. You're actively managing your team and adapting on the fly, making quick calls on positioning and tactics. It's refreshing because you're not just setting up units and hoping for the best, you're in control, thinking through each move and reacting in real time as the battle unfolds. Plus, it adds some tower defense elements to make the strategy even deeper. Each stage feels like a puzzle you're trying to solve, balancing offense with defense, keeping you on your toes as you think about your next steps and how best to protect your team. One of the standout features is the roguelike mode, where every run is different, so the challenge stays fresh and you can't just use the same strategy over and over. It really pushes you to think on your feet. I personally really like the anime-inspired character designs. They're really detailed and each one plays differently, so you can get creative with how you build your team. To me, it feels less like just a stats game. It's cool finding combinations and figuring out which characters work well in different scenarios. And since it's cross-platform, you can play on iOS, Android, or PC without losing progress. So it's super convenient if you're always switching between devices, like I am. Right now, they're offering 200 free pulls just for downloading. So if you're looking for a new strategy game, this is a great time to jump in. You can grab the game through the link in the description or the pinned comment and check it out. Thanks to Ash Echoes Global for sponsoring today's video. Starting with the build I feel is most appropriate for Chevreuse in general, which is purely support. She is capable of some decent sub DPS, and maybe we'll check that out later, but I mainly just want to focus on her as a support, which is why we're going to give her Favonius. Definitely probably the most goated series of weapons for supports. Pretty much just reduces the team's energy requirements by a lot. If you're struggling to get close to 40k HP with her, Black Tassel is a good option. I mean, it's a 3-star, easy to get, has a lot of HP, and besides event weapons, I think it's like the only polearm with an HP main stat for some reason. No, there's a craftable one as well, but I think its main stat is even lower than Black Tassel, so honestly, if you're just in it for the HP, I would go Black Tassel. For artifacts, we do have a lot of good options. Typically, I would go Oblige, but Benny will probably be in nearly every team, and he has Oblige already. And because she can heal, Song of Days Past will give us a nice little additive damage buff there. The main goal with her artifact build is to get her to 40k HP, so it maximizes her attack buff, her passive. So we're gonna go triple HP, and honestly, that's not even enough. We're sitting at 37.6k because our HP subsets are pretty atrocious, but we're gonna raise this one to see if the HP goes up a little bit here. Crit damage, which actually just makes me realize we're gonna also need a bit of crit rate for Favonius. EM got buffed. We'll go to 12 and then we might just give up. Ooh, okay, 1 roll into HP, fine, we'll get it to 16. Another roll into HP, okay, cool, fine, we're gonna max it. And flat def, whatever. I mean, we have 10% more than we did, so I'll take it. On energy recharge, I really don't think it's that important most of the time, unless you build her in Oblige. Then of course you're gonna wanna burst every rotation and she'll need a lot more ER for that. But besides that, her burst does not provide any buffs. We don't have an on-piece Sands at all, so this has to be our off piece. It may as well be one with as much crit rate as possible for Favonius. We'll steal this one from Kokomi. I don't really use her often. I think 31% is okay. Even with very subpar HP substats on Plume and Flower, we're still at 39k, so we're getting all but 1% of her attack buff, and I think that's fine. For talents, I'm honestly just gonna leave them alone. Basically, all of her utility comes from her passives, and of course a bit more at C6. And that is usually the next thing I would want to look at. There's not gonna be much need to test anything here except for C6. 1 through 5 are mostly for personal damage, so we are just gonna go ahead and get her up to C5 straight away. C6 basically gives us up to 60% pyro and electro damage when the character gets healed by Chevreuse. It does actually sound like a lot. I mean, a goblet only gives you 46, so it's literally more effective than a goblet. There is maybe one slight issue, and that is that Chevreuse isn't the fastest healer ever. You can see my Xilonen get healed here. It's not terribly slow either. I'll have the exact timing on screen when I go frame by frame. If you go in with someone like Shogun and immediately burst, that big burst hit probably won't have all the buffs. You know what I mean? Since we started the video with Arlecchino, we'll try something like this. Facial should be enough to continually keep overloaded going. So we'll do a couple runs on the Dorito boss just to get a baseline and then go to C6. It's a pretty quick and simple rotation. We're just gonna do Arlecchino E, Facial E, Chevreuse held E, Binny burst E or E burst if I need the energy, and then wrap back around to Arlecchino to do a charge attack and, you know, basics. Yeah, 97, 98. There are definitely some inconsistencies, so we'll have to do it a few more times to get like a really good look there. Yeah, 93, 98, 97. Like that final hit of her normal attack combo is close to 100, but not quite 100. Let's just keep that in mind. And now the only change we're gonna make is getting her to C6, and I do wanna check out where this team white healing comes in, just to clear that up a little bit. Unfortunately, we need to get hurt by someone who's not Arlecchino. Wait. C6 basically gives us up to 60% pyro and electro damage when the character gets healed by Chevreuse. Maybe it's time to throw in the towel, old man. Thankfully, and I'm not sure why, but Arlecchino doesn't actually need to get healed by Chevreuse to get the C6 buff. As you can see, we have 60% electro damage bonus right now, right after this fight here. One thing that's worded a bit weird here is the first sentence after 12 seconds of the healing effect. So I wanna see if that actually comes 12 seconds after E. If so, that would be an additional heal that keeps the stack a little longer, but we'll have to test that. It's probably after those 12 seconds, and then we'll see Fish will probably get healed a bit there. And doop, there it is. Actually, another thing I'm not sure of is if it matters that they're already at full health. Oh, it doesn't, it doesn't. She has the buff here and the electro buff. Thank God, that was about to probably be really annoying. So with that in mind, we are just gonna play the rotation exactly how I think it should be played. All right, let's see here. Okay, 99, 105. Oh, yes, it was definitely those two 105s that were 98s before, 96 to 98s. So compared to the damage she's doing anyway, it's not like a super insane difference, you know? Which is, yeah. There was definitely some 109s in there. One more quick rotation just to look at how many C6 Chevreuse stacks we have. So here we go. I mean, yeah, we actually are doing quite a bit more damage there. And just like here at the end, I mean, we already have all the stacks, so probably for her last couple of attacks at least. Here's a side-by-side with C5 on the left and C6 on the right. As you can see, Arlecchino's first hit deals the exact same damage since we have no Chevreuse stacks yet. Moving on to the second normal attack, C5 does 120k, where C6 does 129k, a 7.5% damage increase. Moving on a few hits, and this next one we have two stacks, and we have a 14.7% damage increase. Mostly ignore the timer down there. C5 sides Arlecchino missed a couple crits, whereas the C6 sides did not. It really doesn't matter, we're just looking at the actual damage increase Chev's stacks provide, and in this team and rotation, it seems to be roughly 7% per stack, which is actually bigger than I originally thought while first recording. It is a pretty decent buff there, but I think Chevreuse herself at C0 is just a really good buffer anyway, and to try and demonstrate that, I'm gonna go through one more run here and just not even use Chevreuse. I guess we'd also have to avoid Fischl because just her being in the team can trigger this, so we'll just not use half the team, and you'll see that she does less damage. Watch this, like 50k, half the damage basically, even less than half the damage I would say. Isn't that crazy, guys? Okay, also if we switch to a much more premium team using 3 5-stars, I do imagine it's probably gonna be a little better. Let's see this here. 216. Yeah, I mean, okay, it is like a little better, you know, a tiny bit better. So in a nutshell, yeah, her C6 is pretty good. It's nothing like mind-blowing though. I think the attack boost and the big res shred she provides is just more valuable than the C6, but it adds on to the previous buffs anyway. So it doesn't really matter that it's not as good as her, like, you know, built-in support abilities. I also have some crazy reactions though. I imagine this is probably one of the highest damage like Arlecchino teams, or even teams in general. Like, dude, 200k normals are just stupid. We got these bros. These are probably like my favorite local legends. They're super tanky, but they don't seem that dangerous. Now it's raining, which is a little bad, I guess. So I guess we are going to do E here, and then Q, and then E again before actually starting the rotation here. We'll do Q, E, go ahead and do that. We'll do a normal attack as well, and then hold that. Do her Q as well, sure, why not? I did that rotation very slow, but I wanted to just do all the stuff there. Yeah, we actually did it so slow that Benny's like ring, and we had to move anyway, so it was kind of, yeah. Nothing's really going according to plan here, but we can kind of start it over. So we're gonna go ahead and do E there, again, Q, and then get frozen, which is cool. I'm trying here, I'm trying. Hold that. Go back to Arlecchino to absorb that. We are actually hurting pretty bad. So we're gonna do an emergency burst here. Didn't really have a choice. We'll go ahead and do E again and just kind of start everything over. Fischl got one shot. It raining does kind of hurt because there's a cryo one here and he's freezing us sometimes. Okay, those guys aren't as much of a pushover as I thought, I guess. Most of the time I'm just skipping her burst like this and just kind of hoping Vinny will get his ultimate one day. Yeah, I'm gonna wait until it's not raining anymore. It hurts more than it helps. All right, let's see here. We're just going to do, I mean, pretty much a very similar rotation here. We're just going to mix things up and we'll go ahead and do her burst as well for fun. And we'll just start. Oh wait, there was a 200K. Why was that a 200K? Jesus, that was nice. We died, unfortunately. They're pretty aggressive today. Here we go. Okay, I need to do a held E there, please. Please stop being annoying. Okay, they jumped out of the way, but we did some damage. Yeah, oh, I tried to press Q, but I did it too late. I mainly reserve Arlecchino's burst for emergency healing. I've seen it advised that you should just do it at the beginning of the rotation. I'm honestly not too sure why, maybe for extra bond of life or something, but my Arlecchino is C1 with her signature, so I don't think it's that necessary. God. We didn't even have her burst that time for emergency healing. Yeah, I mean, this is a very squishy team. I think it would work in most content where the dudes aren't basically one-shotting. I hate these consecrated beasts. They're always moving everywhere outside of Binny Ring. Come on, let me get a couple good hits off. This first one, of course, does have extra pyro res, which is why we're only getting like 50 to 60K hits here. But yeah, sure, let's try Shogun. It's basically a matter of just swapping out Arlecchino with her because I think this is still a perfectly good team, though I'm quite sure Shogun alone is enough Electro, so he could replace Fischl. I still think Sara's a good unit. Everyone hates her, but like, at C6 is another like 60% crit damage, was it, for Shogun? And kabonk, 582? That's definitely not bad. I always forget my damage record with Shogun, but I don't think it was like that high, at least in normal content like this. Unfortunately, in Shogun's case, it's definitely a matter of like not being able to get all the buffs from Chevreuse's C6 because you kind of want to just go on field and burst with her immediately. Maybe we have like 1 or 2 stacks now, 527. I don't know. Maybe we had even less. I mean, but look at the boss. Like he dies so fast anyway, but I guess that'll do it. I'm not going to focus on the Shogun team too much because that's what we mainly focused on when first raising her. And honestly, she's not that much different at C6 than she was at however low constellation I had her. Do I regret investing resources into her? Actually, yeah, I kind of do. I do still think she's a good support. In my personal case, Xilonen exists now. I have her signature. She's in Cinder City. Even for such a restricted team like purely Electros and Pyros, Xilonen would be at least very close to Chevreuse in terms of, you know, team buff. And she can also heal. Just for fun, we'll compare a bit. Chevreuse gives 40% res shred, 40% attack, and up to 60% elemental damage bonus. But depending on your rotation and where the damage actually lies, like just swapping to Resin and doing her burst, the normal and charge attacks after that will have all stacks, but that's something to keep in mind. With a crowned talent, Xilonen gives 4% less res shred. With R1 Peak Patrol plus Cinder City, we're getting 5.6% more element damage bonus, and it happens instantly. And then again, in my case, mine's C2, and here we're getting 5% more attack if we have the Pyro DPS like we were playing with Arlecchino. If Electro was the main DPS, well, you could do rotations faster, so I think the average damage would also go up in that case, but the numbers themselves wouldn't. Of course, since we're counting the 4-piece Xilonen set, it wouldn't be fair to not even mention, you know, Song of Days pass buff, which is a little hard to quantify, but it's definitely doing something. And if you didn't have a different Oblige in your team, it would just be 20% attack. And unlike when I was comparing Xilonen to Kazuha and just saying, well, you can use them both, that's not really the case with Chevreuse, though you could argue that for Abyss if they're in different teams. So yeah, I don't think maxing her brought a lot of value to my account in particular, but I don't want it to be misunderstood that she's a bad character because of that. I just have every unit and support in the game, most of them with their signature weapons, so it's just like, I really didn't need her. I do think she is worth it in general though. I would never go out of your way to summon on a banner where she is present, because I think she's perfectly capable at C0 for what she's meant to do, buffing Electro and or Pyro DPS. And sure, she can do that a little bit better at C6, but I don't think it's worth the primos unless you're going for the 5-star on the banner as well. The only objective issue with her is that she is incredibly niche. And yeah, you could make the argument that at C6, if you get her there, you can use her outside of purely overloaded teams, because she still will provide up to 60% pyro and electro damage, as well as general other support things like a decent amount of healing tied to her E, good energy generation, especially paired with Favonius, and up to 40% attack on her passive here. Though it should be noted that you will need at least one electro in your team to get the attack buff, because you need to do overloaded to get the overcharged ball. So even ignoring the loss of the 40% res shred, her team possibilities are still a little bit limited. I personally do like niche units, characters that are good for like one specific thing or piece of content. When it comes to Genshin's case though, like really maxing and raising a character is very expensive, so I have to be a little careful with like recommendations and such. Thankfully though, in Chevreuse's case, she really doesn't need much investment. You could leave the talents pretty low. Her best set is Oblige if you don't already have someone in your team, and it's just triple HP, which is pretty easy. One of her best weapons is a 3-star, and she is still good at C0. On my whale account, maxing her wasn't really worth it, but you know, for low spenders or even like newer players that have some solid pyros and electros to make an overloaded team, or at least like, you know, a decent pyro or electro DPS, then I would say she's definitely worth it. I also just remembered right at the end of this video that overloaded is getting buffed soon, so we might have to revisit it soon, because the buff to that could make like overall overloaded teams better. But yeah, I guess that'll do it for Chevreuse here. She does actually have a lot of utility and a lot she brings to the table in the appropriate team. It's just a little unfortunate that those teams are very limited. Let me know what you think about her in the comments down below though. Dropping a like or subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks as always for watching, and until next time.